Hi, I'm Matt Harris, and this is my vlog. I have a special vlog entry for you this week because I'm in The Hague in the Netherlands doing some work with the IB around educational technology across the continuum for IB programs. This vlog is going to be a little bit different than the ones before. I'm probably not going to be editing it too much or adding music or doing anything super special. I'm just going to kind of tell you what we've done, discuss some of the progress that we've made with the IB, and talk about the exciting things that they're doing and some big takeaways that we had from the IB. So again, apologies for the quality, but hopefully my stream of consciousness will be interesting to learn about. So those of you that don't know, the IB, or the International Baccalaureate, is an international educational program. It's not really a curriculum, it's more of a framework and a pedagogy that has schools all over the world. I can't even imagine how many. It's in the thousands. They're on every single continent. They work with government schools. They work with private international schools. They have a ton of schools in the U.S. Their fastest growing market is in the U.S., both with public and private schools. And students that go through their programs are learning a more modern pedagogy. In the primary school, it's a very inquiry-based. It's inquiry-based learning through what they call the primary years program. It moves on to the middle years program, which is a combination of content and inquiry. And then it moves to the diploma program, which is the oldest and most well-known program, that is a focus on content and university preparatory instruction. Students will take a series of 6 courses from 6 different groups. That's not totally true. Sometimes they can do multiple courses in one group, but I won't get into that. And then a core set of courses around theory of knowledge, community action and service, and an extended essay that kind of emulates university research work. The final examination that they take in grade 12 then is used as an indicator of their preparedness for university. They get a score, and then they earn a diploma that then they can take on to universities that will accept IB students all over the world. The IB has also recently added a careers-related program. It used to be called the careers-related certificate, that kind of parallels the DP program to prepare students for work in a non-traditional university setting for students that might not be prepared for the rigors of the diploma program, because the diploma program is pretty rigorous. So I was brought in here as a part of a team to talk with the IB about the practical applications of technology and learning across their continuum. And as I said, their continuum is found all over the world. So it really was a huge honor to be able to come in and talk with very, very senior members of the IB about how do they envision technology as a tool for learning, as a pedagogy for learning, and as an effect on the learning environment, really. I was a member of an 8-member team task force, and we came from all over the world. So I represented East Asia, Singapore, obviously, that's where I work right now. We had members from Europe, from the United States, from South America, from, oh gosh, everywhere. I don't think we had a member from Africa. Australia, we had a member that came all the way from Australia. And it was a really pretty amazing group of people. We were able to get very in-depth on the essence of EdTech when it comes to the practical applications of teaching and learning. Now, we were actually the second task force. The first task force met in July, and they talked about the conceptual nature of educational technology and what that means in a globalized contemporary concept around contemporary learning. And they did a very nice job. They, with the work of the IB, created a concept paper around the major tenets of what technology and learning really is about. And it's a very good read. It's in pre-publication with the IB and will be produced in the next few months, I would assume, made available to IB schools to kind of give them a view of what the IB is thinking about. We came in as more practitioners beyond the conceptual nature to talk about, excuse me, to talk about what can really be done in schools. What are the things that schools need to do when considering EdTech? What does the IB need to think about in terms of an actionable operational framework with EdTech across their programs? Now, the IB has this very big challenge in that there is no prototypical IB school, and that's by design. The IB is designed to be available and accessible to any student anywhere in the world. So you have a breadth of geography, you have a breadth of socioeconomic status, you have a breadth of ownership of schools, be they Ministry of Education schools or privately held schools, not-for-profits, for-profits. Like I said, the socioeconomic status of the students varies. The linguistic abilities vary. So there is really nothing that the IB can pin and say, this is what you need to do as a school. They have a framework, they have a set of requirements in order to meet their programs, but they can't go in and say, all right, you need to do technology, you need to do EdTech, you need to connect to specific devices. They really don't have that education. So this is a pretty huge challenge for the IB because, as all of you know that are watching this, educational technology is the contemporary frame for teaching and learning right now. I don't even want to say the 21st century because that seems antiquated. Contemporary teaching and learning requires an understanding of technology, of digital communications, of the vastness of information in order to be relevant for students as they go off into university and the workforce. That's the expectation, that students can collaborate, that they can parse through mass amounts of information to solve individual tasks, that they can do more than just read from a book or learn information from a single source. So how do you do that across the world? It's a pretty monumental task, and that's why I feel pretty honored to have been a part of it. And the thing I can say out of all of this, and honestly I can't say too much because of a non-disclosure agreement I signed with the IB, is that the IB really is thinking about it. They're really going forward. While we were there over the 3 days in The Hague, we talked with curriculum managers, with people in charge of standards and practices, and then we had the opportunity to meet with the new chief academic officer for the IB, who's really only been there for about a month. So he's, as we like to say in the United States, drinking from the fire hose. And I can only imagine that his schedule is very full day to day, and we got 2 hours with him. That's monumental. That's a commitment to educational technology and having a deep discussion about what is really happening in schools and how does the IB become a part of that, or how do they incorporate it into their own systems. Because I'll say up to this point, technology really has been seen as an add-on. Now, it's seen as an add-on for a lot of schools, but for those of us that are deep in the field or see what's happening outside of education, technology is not an add-on. It's not even an integration. It really is integral. And that was the piece we tried to hit, that technology is integral to learning. And I think they got the message. We really had a real deep conversation with him. We pushed back on some of his concepts. He pushed back on ours. And the group was able to come up with a set of statements that we're hoping that the IB will take on board and really bring forward in their own language to kind of show that they have an understanding of what technology means in learning, and they have an understanding that they need to focus on it. Now, as with all of us, we're making this up as we go along. The realities of technology, the realities of modern learning, the realities of assessment models that we're all stuck with just means that we can't put our finger on any one specific thing. I know for years I used to make tech plans at schools. You just can't do that anymore because the technology and the needs of the school change. But how do you then turn that around and create something usable and actionable moving forward? So we started that work, and our work with the CAO really pushed that forward quite a bit for the IB. So I'm very excited about what they're doing. I'd like to talk to you about a few of the things we actually discussed. I can't go into a lot of depth because, as I said, I signed a non-disclosure agreement because this is ongoing work with the IB. And if you're watching this, what I would do is I would keep an eye on the IB, on their publications and what they bring out. And if you don't find that things are going forward, give them a little push. Send an email. They're very responsive. They really want to know what teachers think and teachers do, and other practitioners as well. Probably more so than most education frameworks out there. I would really suggest, if you are interested as an IB practitioner or somebody just interested in EdTech in general, talk to the IB, ask them, and connect with them and ask what happened with the work that we did and where is it going forward. One of the things that really stood out for me, and it was something we discussed the entire time, in this committee work that I kind of want to give as a takeaway, not only for what the IB is doing, but for what you should be doing as EdTech people in schools around the world. So the conceptual work that was done before us kind of laid out this notion of the difference between implementation and integration, and what is really most important. So what I mean by that, and this is no secret from the IB, and it's no secret from any of us. You can look online for references to this. Excuse me. When we talk about technology in education, are we talking about computers or are we talking about outcomes? It really is a fundamental question. Are we providing these computers so that the students learn skills, or are they learning competencies around technology-infused learning? And what I mean by that is that a lot of schools hear the word technology and they think computer, or they think device, software platform, those big sort of things. Kind of the CIO, the IT manager side of the house. But that's not what technology means to learning in a contemporary sense. It really more is, how is technology integrated into learning? And then I even take that a step further by saying, how is technology integral to learning? Technology integration suggests that students should focus on learning specific skills and concepts or competencies outside of the content they're learning within their normal classes. Things like systems design, or systems thinking or design thinking, the ability to process information, having the mindset of not being afraid to try things and fail so that you can learn better moving forward. And those are things that are facilitated through technology-infused learning. And they are so in other places as well, but the depth and the breadth of that type of learning really is only found when technology is an amplifier of learning. So if you're going into your schools and somebody asks you what your tech plan is, and you come back and you say, well, we're going to have one-to-one laptops in grades 6 through 12, and we're going to do a rollout of iPads here, and I plan to have a learning management system that does this, and our budgetary items are this, that to me is not really talking about what technology does for learning. And this is something the IB is really starting to grasp on. And the reason for that is because they can't tell schools what to buy. Could you tell a school in sub-Saharan Africa in the jungle that they need to have a certain bandwidth for their internet connection? No, of course not. You can't do that. Same as limiting a high SES school in China that they have to have a specific brand of technology or a specific uptime of technology. No, you can't do that because that's not contextually appropriate. But what you can do is you can provide a set of outcomes, a framework, a position on this is what you should be focusing within your programs to get the most learning out of your students. Students should be creating content. They should be creating knowledge. And that ties into the inquiry and the learner profile that you find in the IB. Students should be taught or given experience that build their problem-solving abilities, or their systems design abilities, or their understanding of the design cycle. Those are all critical in later life, in later work, in university, and they can be very easily facilitated through technology-infused learning in other content areas. So this is the pullout. This is the thing I'd really like everybody to hear going forward, is that the IB has figured this out, and they're doing a lot of work. But there's something to be learned for all of us, and that is when somebody asks you to create a technology plan. And I think that everybody in schools should have a technology plan. All schools should have their own technology plan. The technology plan should not be one of devices, but of pedagogic goals and means to get to those pedagogic goals around what is possible through technology-infused learning. So when you create this set of goals, they really are learning goals. They really are attitudinal goals. They really are a set of competencies that you want your students to attain through technology that then can inform the decisions around what IT or what devices or what materials we're going to make available. And I think what you're going to find is that creates a better focus for you as a school on what you're really doing. You can tie those things to the mission of the school. You can tie those things to your assessments. You can even create assessment tools around those goals. it really is a connector that I would like to see in a lot of schools. And I know in my job, I will be doing the same. We have certain outcomes that we list. We have a set of mission and vision statements for our departments, but they really aren't tied to the specific things that we want students to come out with through technology-infused learning. So as you go forward, do that. If you still want to create your tech plans where you're creating a 3-year cycle or you're doing a strategic plan around budgeting and implementation, that's fine. But don't tie that to what you believe is going to be on the shelves in 3 years. Do it based on what you're hoping to see in your classrooms and tie them to specific things that you can see and turn around and assess. For example, we are looking to have a mindset around creativity and around intrepid approaches to teaching and learning, where folks are not afraid to try things and fail because there's a lot of benefit there. We want to create an environment where formative assessment is as important as summative assessment. And that formative assessment informs the way that we teach, the way that our students interact with content, they interact with each other. So those sorts of things are the most important piece of creating your long-term tech strategy. And I'm really excited that the IB has engaged in that, and that at the highest levels of the organization, they're talking about how to really do that as an incredibly influential organization around the world. The last piece I'll say before I go is if you get a chance as an EdTech leader or as an educational leader or even as a practitioner to serve on these types of task forces or committees, whether it's within your local context or a larger global one like I did, take those on. That level of professional development is more valuable than just about anything else you're going to get. I learned so much from my colleagues. I learned so much from sitting in that room thinking about what is the essence of what we do professionally and how does that influence kids in my school and all over the place. You offer your opinion and you engage both that creative and consumptive elements of your learning as we're trying to model in our own kids. You have a real impact on other people, and it's just amazing and interesting. So seek those things out. Join boards. Go on accreditation visits if you can. Find a way to have deep conversations within your school or without. And I'm not just talking about a PLN. I'm really talking about separating yourselves from the actions of your own school to a broader context. There's a lot of brilliance in our schools. There's a lot of brilliance within our EdTech groups. Share that. Go be a part of it. Have your voice be heard. It's just an amazing experience. One last question I'll just throw at you is one that we were kind of kicking around while we were on the committee. Maybe you can come up with an answer and come back to me. What is technology? Is it a set of things? Is it a set of concepts? How do you define the word technology within a broad definition or the definition of what it means to learning? Think about that. All right, well, I'm about to head back to Singapore. My week here is done. It has been an amazing experience, and I thank the IB. I thank all of my team members. This has been just incredibly rewarding for me as a professional, and I sure hope I get to do it again. Have a good one.